tree. Welcome back to Tales on Track. I've just been for a stupid walk for my stupid mental health, and now I'm lost in the forest moon of Endor. What are you looking at? So I hope you enjoyed the not being able to see the woods for the trees analogy, because this is actually the situation I have right now. In what has been a couple of weeks for you, I've actually sat in this for a couple of months because it's just drained the mojo again. The loom. Always the loom. So this is bad. The immobiliser is cutting the coils. That's the height of this. So what I have to do is suss this problem out. And the diagram I drew that showed you where all the wires go doesn't make sense anymore. And anything I can find online doesn't make sense anymore. So I've got two options. We delete this ECU immobiliser nonsense altogether and go for an aftermarket one, which I have spent 2 months brewing on, but can find nothing used and no amount of stomach to buy new because it's not cheap. Or the other option is we fix it. So let's try and fix it first, eh? So I'm going to be honest, we have skipped a few steps here, mostly to delete my absolute stupidity, because the first thing we checked was, why didn't we get a spark? Now I'm going to skip forward a few steps again. I've bought an ME221 because I was so frustrated with having to deal with the immobiliser issues, I just wanted it deleted. You buy an aftermarket ECU, it doesn't support an immobiliser, so therefore it will disable it, which is a good thing, it's something I wanted. So plug that in, still no spark. So Captain Electronics here, back to the drawing board, and worked out that I wasn't getting a spark because
those things not connected.
there was actually no live going to any of them. Basically, I'd missed a few wires on making a switch live. So once we had that spark, we were like, that's interesting. So we then went down the path of trying to make the fuel happen, because once you get spark and fuel, then you'll have a running engine. But the fuel wouldn't work. So the logic with this took us bloody ages, by the way, was, is there a problem with the ME221? So it was just given strange voltage reasons and would never put a voltage out when you turned it on. So we thought, let's put the old ECU back in and just see what's happening, because now we've got spark, we may have solved the immobiliser issue. Well, we did.
So we wired the immobiliser back in, fixed all the live stuff.
And it does deimmobilise and give spark. Which is really, really annoying, because I've just bought an ME221 for...
You're going to need it anyway.
Basically nothing, because, well, you'll need it for turbo stuff. We're going to do more things, it had to happen. But what we've then been left with is, well, we've got this in, why don't we get fuel? It turns out that all of the electronic systems that run relays for an MX-5 of this generation, it doesn't put volts out to activate the relay. Takes volts in, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, it grounds the relay, basically. You've got, rather than, you have like, from the fuse box, you've got like switched lives that power the low side of the relays. Yeah. And then what the ECU does is it just grounds the other side of the relay. So
needless
you
to say,
have it like that.
I had the opposite way around, and it was just a simple wiring swap of two things on that relay. Yeah. And lo and behold, the stock ECU, well, let's just show you. So I'll tell you what, you can hold
I will
that.
hold for spark.
You can hold for spark. So spark demonstration as follows. We have
a spark.
We have a spark.
And if you hear at the end, if you crank it again.
So let's do a crank again.
Fuel pump.
Big mighty fuel pump running. So all of the things that I have wired, i.e. the things I've had to add and make, they work like the fuel pump. It's just that when it comes to the finesse stuff, such as doing it correct, that's the bits I missed. And that's why everybody should have a Daniel in their garage.
But yeah, there's nothing that's stopping this car from running. Obviously the airflow meter is just taped.
So that's another thing about the airflow meter. The fuel pump will not work unless this gets a reading. The only way it's going to get a reading is if a vacuum pulls air by it. So if this wasn't connected, you wouldn't get a pump. It doesn't automatically come on in an MX-5. It is activated by that, which is a good safety feature when you think about it, because if that isn't drawing air, your fuel pump shouldn't be running anyway, because the engine's technically not cranking. It's just a bit of a strange way of doing it. Yeah. And if you don't know how to do that, you're going to get stuck. because you won't get fuel.
Yeah, because most of your normal cars are just the usual, you turn the key on,
it'll just do it.
Primes for 3 seconds, and you know, car starts. But these don't do that. These don't prime until you actually turn the key, which is why whenever you try and start an MX-5, it doesn't just immediately kick into life. There's always that wee bit of a
there's a bit of a wait. So the problem is now, because I've had to admit to Daniel that I don't know what I'm doing with electrics, Daniel has now administered me with a punishment exercise. Basically, imagine you just went and shat in the teacher's desk. That's where I'm at with Daniel. He has observed all of the sins.
Yeah, we're gonna fix this though. The key thing is now is we know that it can be deimmobilized with standard ECU.
Yeah.
So we may as well just keep that in, because we know
for test purposes. Yeah.
Yeah, and the thing is, we can, when we do the final LOOM, we may as well just leave it in anyway, because the factories, the aftermarket ECU just bypasses it.
Yeah, we only really need that ME. By the way, which is sat over there. We'll get into it in a wee bit. We only need the ME to run boost.
Good thing about this is we can keep the immobilizer wiring, keep all the stock ECU stuff, get everything working and running, because it's a standard engine.
Exactly.
There's nothing really different from standard, and it means then you know it's going to
drive to an IVA and get
and it'll go through emissions and all that sort of stuff, no problem.
Now, I will admit this was for test purposes.
Yeah, well,
as we did cover. However,
we'll do this properly.
It's not proper. So there are many things here that don't have enough fuses, and yes.
What we're going to do is, the aim with the wiring here is that it's probably slightly overkill, but the idea is anything that takes reasonable amounts of current, like your coils, injectors, you know, fans, all that sort of stuff. The idea is to separate everything onto separate circuits, so that
they've all got their own fuse.
Yes, if you're at the track and you're going around, boom, car cuts off. You don't go, right, well, there's like 6 circuits on that fuse. How do I start diagnosing this?
At the moment, I have got basically everything running off of like a fuse.
Yeah, so we want
which was good, because it means there was a level of protection for testing, but it's not.
We want it so that if you pop a fuse and the car dies, you can immediately go, oh, it's coils, or oh, injectors, or and then you've only got a small, either the coils or the injectors or the small bit of loom that goes to there, rather than having to spend hours trying to find the problem.
So what that all means is I need to go and do it right. What we're going to do is instead do it right, but it's quite late and I've already taken enough of this man's time. So I'm going to go skip to doing something completely different, because I need a break from electrics. That's come out quite well, which is surprising for me. Let's see if we can finish the rest to the same standard. Centre console done. What I was going to do was tick it off the list, but I've realised that Loom Drama has completely deleted the list, so I'm going to put that up in a minute and just show you what's left to do. But before I do, we did touch on the immobiliser earlier on. Now, my solution to this is to ignore the internet. This diagram here is what everyone seems to have up online as an image for how the immobiliser box is wired. It's not. Certainly not on the 2001 to 2005 model that I've got. This pinout is actually what you should be looking for. So if you ever need to diagnose your immobiliser box, check for one of these and ignore whatever that's supposed to be. Right, let me put up the original list now that we can get rid of all of this. Boom! The list has returned, and it doesn't really seem like I've ticked much more off of it, but that is done. So skull and dash, battery still to do, bodywork and seat still to do, which isn't really a big thing, but battery and Loom, yes, we seem to have done episode after episode on Loom and it's still not ticked, but I think coming very, very soon it will be, because now that we know the Loom is summarised, we can now tidy it up and tick that off for good, along with the battery. So that'll probably be the next episode, but for now, yeah, I've done something, so we're good. Anyway, t-shirts, toolsandtrack.com. Go have a look, go find out, because it is, after all, merch time. I've got my finger out, I'm doing stuff, so if you want to have stuff, go buy stuff. Otherwise, patreon.com/toolsandtrack. All the other perks that come with that can be found there. And obviously, if you're not financially inclined, just do the like bell, subscribe, because, you know, that is free and it does help. And until next weekend, guys, drive safe.
Yeah. Might see a car running soon. Potentially. This might run soon. Maybe.